How you doing, legends? The first trial is in the books and we've had a lot of hype around it, getting ready for it obviously, and there were plenty of relevant players in this game, so I wanted to go through and give you a little synopsis. Obviously we're all itching to go ready for the season. I won't be able to do another one of these for a couple of days, so just thought I'd do a quick one for the Doggies and the Storm. As I said, plenty of relevant guys here. Just some things to know, guys. The Dogs had a ridiculous amount of possession, 67% in the first half and then 63 overall for the game. So there was plenty of defensive output for the Storm through, the majority of that game there. So when you are looking at the stats, there's plenty of run meters for a lot of the Dogs guys and a few less for the Storm and a few more tackles, that's for sure. But we will go through the players one by one and give you my thoughts on that. But obviously 24-12. Things started well for the Dogs, obviously. The Storm actually came back and were up 12-10. And just remember, guys, as well, that the Dogs were fielding a majoritively first grade side, with the Storm only playing sort of, they're 1 and 7 and 13, I suppose, if you're counting Liero as a first grade 13 at this stage. But in terms of first graders there in that one. So in terms of the stats, we will go through that now. And some good tackle numbers, obviously, surprisingly. In terms of tackles, ended up going to Jacob Preston, and he was impressive, and we'll get into that in a second. But just going through players one by one, guys, we've got Blake Taaffe from the Doggies there. He always looks pretty solid. I still don't see him as being a fantasy option. Didn't score a ridiculous amount of points there of 14 in his half and a bit, I believe it was. So yeah, he's just one of those guys that's probably going to be stuck in the 20s for a dog side, for them to get a win and him not to get the points available. Put in a couple of grubbers as well. One wasn't very good, but just looks solid. And I know you've got Crichton out, you've got Carraz out, you've got Adokar out. I can see a world where and kind of Tracy, I can see a world where he just doesn't play. But obviously he's training at fullback, and that's the clear thing. A lot of people think that he's got the spot. I don't completely see it that way. This is a first trial when all those guys were out. So if they were available, then we'd know exactly where he's going to be. So do expect that he isn't the fullback come round one, when you have so much other talent that are ahead of him at the moment in Stephen Crichton and the like. Big news with this outside back, guys, is the Blake Wilson and Dral Skelton, who both played last year in the NRL. They have taken a leap. They did look better than what they did last year, especially Skelton. He looked like he has gotten even bigger and even stronger, which is incredible. But his hard ball running, pushing guys off him. Obviously, this was against more of a developmental reserve grade type of side for the most part for the Storm. But he's still going to be super hard to handle it, and he'll have tackle breaks and the like there for Skelton. Blake Wilson just seems like a really talented winger. So both of those guys, I think, will feature at some point this year. Obviously, they have plenty of guys that are going to start ahead of them, but an injury or two, or does sort of does Blake Wilson or Skelton keep that wing spot and they move like a Carraz to the centres or something like that? But you then look at Bronson Xerri, and he was actually really, really good as well in his first game back. So obviously 4 years out of the game, guys. He did pick up a try. He did pick up a try assist as well, and you can see there with Skelton's 39. Xerri there had the 42 points, so it was really solid for him, the try and the try assist there. Just good quick hands, just did his job. Didn't have any errors from what I remember. Yep, it was all good on that front, and just did his job. He wasn't really breaking too many tackles. He was just running hard lines. He's a big boy as well, so don't expect him to get manhandled in defense either or in attack. So he is going to be really nice depth, I think, for them, just given the quality that they have coming back. And I think that, get a couple of New South Wales Cup games under his belt. And if there's an injury in those centres, I think he's first cab off the rank. So keep an eye out on him. And then Eli Clark got a try as well. So he was solid at that. If we're looking at Burton now, guys, I just didn't see... He seems like that guy that it should be really dominating, and especially in a game like this. But he did in the first run after half time, I believe, that he almost scored a try. But outside of that, his bombs were very shallow, was the notes that I took down on him, compared to that of Hutchison. So Burton took the first few kicks from sort of halfway and left them, only kicked him about 10 to 15, 20 metres across the couple of kicks that he had. So they were high, but they just weren't very long. Whereas when Hutchison started to take the kicks, he sort of had 3 or 4 after that. And all of his bombs got the Storm deep in their territory, sort of 5 to 10 out, and they were able to defend well off the back of that and keep the Storm back in their end. So I felt like Hutchison really game managed well on that front, and that was his best asset in this game compared to that of Matty Burton. So Matty, I think you can leave out of your sides at the moment, especially if the kicking's going to be shared. It looks like Hutchison will make this squad at the moment. I have seen some commentary from people out there just saying that they thought Sexton was way better, but just remember, like, watching that game, you could see that there was so many more opportunities that just, there was holes in the defense and the stuff when Sexton was out there, that he took, that extra space, or he had, some decent passes and stuff, but Hutchison really, straightened up the defensive line. Obviously, and that means, guys, they can't just drift. If he straightens up when he gets the ball, and people are saying he's not quick enough, but he's quick enough, right? And you've got Burton on the back of that. And the big thing with Hutcho is playing both sides, and just his defensive output is always massive. So he did miss 3 tackles, but he made 17, I believe. So 19. So 19 made, 3 misses. And you're taking that in just over half a footy. So 45 minutes. So you're taking 13 points from tackles. And if that was extrapolated out across the game, remember, guys, they had 60, for the time that he was on the park, it was 65 to 67% possession. So yeah, he really worked hard in defense on that front. And so did Reid, obviously, with 26 tackles for 4 misses. So with Hutcho, I just think if he's named to start round 1, he's a lock in our sides. And he's been one I've been excited about and hoping that he would get that 7 position. A lot of people were saying that no, Sexton's going to get it. I don't know why they would start Hutchison in this one over Sexton if he wasn't likely to get it. I don't think he did his chances any harm, that's for sure. Whereas the Blake Taff one is that you've got guys that are out injured or rested or going to play next week, obviously, as well. So that's that. Maxi King, guys, he played just over 30 minutes there, picked up 26 fantasy points, ran for 100 meters. He looked great out there, obviously gets into his defensive work. And Maxi King, to me, one of those guys that I think in this pack, he has to get the good minutes. So you'd expect somewhere around the 55 minutes for him. With a PPM somewhere around the 0.9 mark, you'd expect about a 50 score from Kingy. He looked free, like he was running well, getting into the defensive line, which was a big thing as well. So well done to Maxi. And if you're anyone interested in him in Fantasy or Supercoach, then I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. I think there's probably 5 points of value given he had 3 really bad injuries last year. So Reedy's an interesting one as well. He just looked very much the same. So has the try assist in his game, but also has the 4 missed tackles, the charge out of the line and put a penalty on. He also had an error. So very normal game for Reedy, but just over half for him and 26 fantasy points, or 30 fantasy points, I think it was. So yeah, 30 for him, 26 for Max King. So yeah, it's a roller coaster with Reedy, but he can do that. If he plays the full 80, he can get 60 with a couple of try assists and 7 or 8 missed tackles. So this just seems to be the way that it goes for Reedy. Sam Hughes, absolute must-have. No ifs, buts about it, that's for sure. So Sammy played 30 minutes, picked up 31 points, which it was, I think. They dropped it down. He had a couple extra tackle breaks, and they popped him back down. 31 fantasy points there. Hard to find on this sometimes, but 31 for him, and did a great job, guys. Had 140 meters run and looked strong in each of those runs. Apparently, everyone talks about how fit as a fiddle that Reedy was saying, and he's the one that's impressed. And I think if you're looking at their pack, right, Josh Curran's going to be there. Kurt Mann needs to come back as well. Jamin Salmon was really impressive in this as well. So that's something to look at. And I think that Hughes, given his fitness, the way that Liam Knight played, unfortunately, for those that were interested in him, but I think Hughes is going to be their second minute guy. So you'd have Max King at about the 55. Sam Hughes, I think, it could be the 40 guy. And 40 for your second middle, not a lot of minutes. So when you're looking at guys like Kurt Mann and Jamin Salmon likely going to they should be getting some decent minutes, especially Salmon after the way he played last night. I think Hughesy with 40 minutes is startable, is playable in your side, and can get you a 40 points on a week-to-week basis. If that's what we are looking to see, and if that's the way it's named, I'm not sure if the benching was you end up playing off the bench, but 30 minutes, 20 minutes in the first half, and then 10 minutes on the other side of halftime. Obviously, you want him probably starting if he's going to play the 40 minutes, and we'll see where he's named, and if hopefully that's not the way they play it, because obviously everyone's going to have him in their 21 or their 25, but it's like whether you can start him or not. If you think he's going to if he gets the 40 minutes, he's starting worthy. If he's 30, it's probably not really starting worthy. He's like an 18th man, that's for sure. Katoga, he was great actually. He looked really strong in running as well, and did an awesome job in his short time on the park with 17 fantasy points. Someone to keep an eye out. He looked really, really good. Preston, I think he's going to be a 55 keeper. So if you're looking at someone like him, he's obviously kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit in our interest, just because he played so well last year, and he's not a top 3 kind of edge, but I think he can get there for sure. Especially on that right hand side, if Hutcho's playing well, I think he can provide some opportunities for Presto as well. And Jamin Salmon, guys, he sort of played a bit over 30 minutes as well, and did a great job. Got 38 fantasy points, worked really hard, making 70 meters there, and all the way up to 27 tackles for no misses. So he was very much their link man. He was doing great things with ball in hand, and I think that he deserves a spot, and it could be like a 30 or so minutes. Could come on and play some 13. They do have Kurt Mann as well, so I suppose he's just training as a middle, I think, in this team, which is great, and he's going to be an option at some point for sure. But he really stood out as a guy that looked great, that's for sure. Sexton came on and did a job, guys. I think that he's obviously fighting for that halfback spot, and there's potential for him to do well for sure. But I think that at this point, if he's not starting, then you're obviously not looking at him. Farmasili had a really good start. First 20 minutes was really, really good. He came on a little bit in the back end, but mainly that first 20 minutes ran the footy hard. So he'll be fighting for a spot as well. He could be pushing Liam Knight, unfortunately, because he came out and dropped the first pill, and then dropped, I think, his third or fourth run, dropped the ball in a tackle. So yeah, not a nice start for Liam Knight there. And then he did have a good sort of draw and pass, and then a really good run deep into the line. But outside of that, I think Liam Knight, a bit too expensive to even look at these days, especially when you can go about 100k up and get guys that could hit a 40 or 50 average, and their spot is safe in the side. So that's the majority of this video, guys. Obviously with the Dogs, plenty of interest around a lot of their players. So Ryan Schnackenhausen, my boy, really, really good return. They obviously were defending for a lot of it. He picked up a nice try. So it's just a quick early pass, cutout ball to Dean Iramia, and then that awesome try, set piece. Pap said he called that one with Jonah, and just showed his speed. So he hasn't lost any speed, guys. For those that are owning him, nothing to worry about at all. Obviously, the big thing here, guys, was that he didn't goal kick. So Jonah Pezic goal kicked there. He's obviously a good kicker. He kicked two beautiful ones from that first one from the sideline for sure, and the other one from the mid part on the left side was easy. And so Pap didn't kick, which hurts us a little bit in Fantasy Supercoach, but hopefully he builds up to that. But Pezic won't be in that starting side come round one, and it's probably likely to be Meany then. But you'd expect if Pap was going to be kicking early, then it would have been on his boot just to get as many reps as possible. But that's the main worry there for sure. And then Pezic was solid, obviously kicking out of his end a lot. Then Chris Lewis scored really well, plenty of tackles on his part, and Trent Liero didn't look as good at 13 as what many would have hoped, but I also don't think he's much of an edge. So I think they'll just play him through the middle. Maybe he's just an extra forward that could come on and spell like Josh King. Probably the way to play this one for sure. Tyron Wishart actually got some decent points under his belt, but 37 tackles will do that, that's for sure. And that's probably where we're going to leave this video, guys. Obviously, if you haven't checked out the private group there, all the links and all the information is in the description. We're about halfway on that, filling that up, which is cool. So keep building that up. Obviously, check me out on the podcast as well. On the socials would be really cool. And all our leagues and Discord is in the description as well. So thanks for being here, guys. I'll see you in a few days, obviously going through a couple of the next games before we do a big sort of deep dive. I'll either do a bit of an update on the few games after sort of Friday and Saturday, or we'll just do a big one on Monday. We'll work it out. But thanks for being here. We'll see you in the next one.